Crystal Ball Part 1. The prophecy planted on the day you were born. You were not born randomly. Scorpio, your birth echoed through realms far beyond the physical world. On that day, a prophecy awakened, one that you would spend a lifetime trying to understand or escape. The whisper of fate. The air was still, the stars hung heavy, and somewhere between silence and stardust, a Scorpio child entered this world. Some births are loud, filled with joy, celebration, and sunshine. But yours, Scorpio? Yours was quiet, sacred, eerie, as if the universe held its breath, as if something ancient stirred. They say certain souls are not just born, they are sent. And on the day you were born, a secret was embedded into your soul, like a coded message, encrypted in pain, power, and purpose. A prophecy, a contract your soul had signed long before your first breath. And ever since, you've been feeling it. That pull, that strange sense that your life has never really been yours. The echoes only you can hear. Have you ever walked into a room and felt something was off? Or met someone for the first time and felt as if your soul recognized them? That's not coincidence, Scorpio. That's memory, not of this lifetime, but of others. Because the prophecy didn't begin at your birth. It reawakened there. You've always sensed something different about yourself. While others chased pleasure, you chased truth. While others feared darkness, you lived inside it. Even as a child, you knew things you shouldn't have known. You could see lies behind smiles, feel sadness and laughter. And in your dreams, you visited places that felt too real, too familiar. The world told you, you're too intense. But what they didn't know was, you were born that way for a reason. The mark of the seer. The ancient ones believed Scorpio children were marked. Marked not by chance, but by mission. Astrologers from ancient Mesopotamia to Egypt all agreed. Scorpio is ruled by death, transformation, and the unseen. That's why you were never meant for an easy life. You were built for the kind of fires that melt away illusions. And in those ashes, you would be forged into something immortal. That's why the prophecy had to be hidden. If you knew it too early, you'd reject it. You'd fight it, or worse, try to run. So instead, it showed up quietly. A heartbreak that broke you open. A betrayal that split you in two. A silence so loud it forced you inward. Each event wasn't punishment, it was a breadcrumb. A piece of the puzzle. A sign. But did you notice them? The soul contract you forgot you signed. There is a spiritual belief that before birth, your soul sits with the divine. Together, you review what must be learned, what karma must be repaid, and what mission must be fulfilled. And then, you choose your family, your body, your wounds, and you forget. You forget everything, so that when the time is right, you'll remember from the inside. And that, Scorpio, is what's happening now. The prophecy is waking up. The clock is ticking. And the reason your life has been so intense is because your path is not for the faint-hearted. You are not here to live a surface-level life. You are here to transform. And through you, others will awaken. Candle teaser for part 2, the signs that keep repeating. But here's the twist. The prophecy has been trying to reach you. Through signs, through synchronicities, through repeating numbers and dreams. And in part 2, we'll uncover what those signs really mean, and what happens if you keep ignoring them. Because Scorpio, you may think you're in control, but fate has already moved its first piece. And this game is just beginning. Crystal Ball Part 2, the signs that keep repeating. When the universe tries to wake you up, the universe doesn't scream at you, Scorpio. It whispers. And when you don't listen, it starts to echo. Milky Way deja vu, dreams, and the pulse of the unknown. You walk into a cafe you've never been to, but you know that smell, that layout, that exact song playing in the background. Chills crawl up your spine. Haven't I been here before? And then it happens again, and again, and again. These are not random glitches in your brain, Scorpio. These are echoes of your soul, triggered by energy you've touched in a life before this one. The prophecy, the one buried inside you, is restless. It wants you to remember. And so the universe begins to tap on the glass of your awareness, gently at first. The same numbers on the clock, 1111, 222, 444. That dream you keep having. Same place, same face, same fall into darkness. That one person you keep bumping into at exactly the wrong or right time. Not signs, calls, Nazar amulet synchronicities, or coincidences. The Scorpio knows. Other people may laugh these things off, "Oh, it's just a coincidence. It's your imagination." But Scorpio, you are not like other people. You don't dismiss what you feel in your gut, because your intuition is not just a tool, it's a compass from the divine. And when the same names, patterns, or symbols repeat across days, dreams, and people, it is not coincidence. It is the prophecy knocking louder. And you know it. You feel it in your bones. Repeat button, the cycle you can't escape. There's something you keep repeating, isn't there? Maybe it's choosing lovers who drain you, trusting people who betray you, sabotaging your success right before you break through. It's not because you're cursed. It's not because you're weak. It's because you're trapped in a karmic loop. Until you face it, feel it, break it, the prophecy will make sure you repeat it. Again and again, not out of cruelty, but out of urgency. Because the moment you wake up to the pattern, you'll begin to see the design. And when you see the design, you can choose your destiny. Candle real story. The Scorpio who ignored the signs. Let me tell you about Elena, a Scorpio woman I once met in a spiritual retreat in Sedona. She kept seeing the same numbers, kept having the same nightmare, kept dating the same man in different bodies. She ignored it all, thought she could outsmart her fate, until one night, after another betrayal that shattered her completely, she stopped running. She went back to her journals and realized the dreams had told her everything 3 years earlier. The signs weren't warnings. They were invitations to wake up. And when she finally did, she didn't just change her life, she changed lives around her. That's the power of a Scorpio aligned with their prophecy. Why the universe chooses repetition for Scorpio? Because you're deep, too deep. You bury emotions. You hide pain. You pretend you're okay until you explode or collapse. So the universe speaks in repetition, not to annoy you, but to crack through your armor. Every loop is a lesson. Every repeat is a reminder. You are not done here. The prophecy planted in you cannot be denied forever. It will find you. It will haunt you, gently, fiercely, lovingly, until you face what you're meant to become. Woman in lotus position, how to read the signs before it's too late. Here are the keys. When you see repeating numbers, pause. What were you just thinking? When a dream repeats, journal it. The message is hidden in the pattern. When people show up out of nowhere, ask why now? What mirror are they showing you? When your gut clenches, don't explain it away. That's sacred data. You don't need logic. You need presence. And Scorpio, presence is your superpower if you choose to trust it. Crystal ball teaser for part 3. The collapse of everything you thought was real. You've seen the signs. But what happens when you ignore them long enough? In part 3, we enter the breaking point. The moment the prophecy stops whispering and starts burning down everything in your life that's not aligned. Because Scorpio, before the phoenix rises, the fire must consume everything false. And that fire is coming. Fire part 3, the collapse of everything you thought was real. Scorpio, the prophecy is patient until it's not. Tornado, when the ground beneath you starts to crumble. You tried to ignore it. The signs, the gut feelings, the dreams. You told yourself, I'm overthinking. It's just a phase. I'll deal with it later. But fate doesn't wait forever. And one day, without warning, everything you built on false foundations begins to fall. Not slowly, not gently, but like a silent avalanche that's been gathering momentum for years. The career you thought was secure? Gone. The relationship you invested your soul into? Shattered. The image you created of yourself? Burning. And you stand in the middle of it all, trembling, asking a single question. Why is this happening to me? But the better question is, why did you ignore the signs? Collision, the explosion was always meant to happen. Scorpio, your life is not built to be comfortable. It's designed to be transformational. And sometimes transformation requires destruction. The prophecy within you carries an energy that cannot tolerate lies, illusions, or half-truths. So the moment your soul's path and your ego's plans diverge too far, friction begins. And if you don't realign, the prophecy does it for you. That's why so many Scorpios experience sudden breakups, abrupt job losses, major spiritual crises, health breakdowns that force introspection. It's not bad luck. It's soul intervention. You weren't being punished. You were being redirected. Fire the moment you burn, but don't die. There's a word that only Scorpio truly understands. Phoenix, the mythical bird that burns itself to ashes and rises again. But here's what most people don't know. Before that rise, there's a long silence. A space between death and rebirth. That's where you are now. When everything you thought was you falls apart. What's left? Silence. Stillness. Terror. But also, truth. Because what remains after the collapse is what was real all along. Your soul. Your power. Your purpose. High voltage, a real Scorpio story. The collapse that saved her. Let me tell you about Miriam. A Scorpio nurse who worked 16-hour shifts. Always giving, never resting. She ignored the signs. Her constant exhaustion. The anxiety dreams. The strained marriage. The emptiness she felt after every achievement. Until one day, she fainted in the middle of an ER shift. That collapse led to a diagnosis that pulled her out of work for 6 months. And in those 6 months, for the first time, she asked herself, what if this wasn't a curse, but an awakening? She ended her toxic marriage, started studying holistic healing, became a spiritual counselor for others burning out like she once did. Her breakdown was the beginning of her becoming. Bomb Why Scorpio Must Lose Everything False. You were never meant to carry what wasn't yours. The expectations your family placed on you. The persona you crafted to be accepted. The relationships you stayed in to avoid loneliness. The dreams that weren't yours to begin with. The prophecy will strip them away, not to leave you naked, but to reveal your real self underneath. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, you will grieve. Yes, you will think you're dying. But you're not. You're shedding. And when the shedding is done, you'll stand in your own skin, raw, real, powerful. Your task in the rubble. Here's what to do when your world falls apart. Don't rebuild too fast. Sit in the ruins. Let yourself mourn. Journal every loss. Ask, what truth was this hiding? Be alone. Scorpio heals in solitude, not noise. Listen deeply. In the silence, the prophecy starts whispering again. This is not the end. It is the beginning of your true path. Crystal ball teaser for part 4. The vow from a past life. The collapse wasn't random. It was triggered by something older than this lifetime. In part 4, we'll dig into the soul contracts and vows you made in a past life that still influence your present suffering, and why this prophecy began long before you were born. Because Scorpio, you didn't just inherit a fate. You once asked for it. Candle part 4. The vow from a past life. The contract you forgot you signed. You think this is all happening now, but it began lifetimes ago when your soul made a promise. Spiderweb, the echo of another lifetime. There are moments you can't explain. You meet someone, and it feels like a reunion. You walk into a place for the first time and know exactly where everything is. You carry wounds you've never earned in this life. That's not madness, Scorpio. That's memory. Not from your mind, but from your soul. And your soul has lived many lives. Loved, lost, fought, fallen. And somewhere in one of those lives, you made a vow. A promise so powerful, it echoed through space and time, until it found you again in this lifetime. Scroll the soul contract. What you promised before you were born, before you incarnated, before the birth, the name, the body. Your soul sat with something greater. Call it the divine, the council, source, God, whatever name feels true to you. There, you reviewed the lessons you had mastered and the ones you hadn't. And from that clarity, you said, this time, I want to remember. I want to transform. And the universe said, very well, but you'll forget everything at birth. You'll have to remember through pain, signs, and fire. And you agreed. You chose your family. You chose your wounds. You even chose the exact soul who would hurt you, because they would awaken you. Yes, Scorpio. Even the betrayal was part of the design. Link how the vow shapes your current life. Ever wonder why? You attract the same type of emotionally intense relationships? You feel drawn to spiritual themes, death, rebirth, karma? You struggle to trust, even those who love you? It's the echo of the vow. Your soul is wired for transformation, not comfort. That's why normal never satisfies you. You crave depth, even when it breaks you. You were never meant for shallow waters. You were made for soul storms. Puzzle piece, a real story. The past life vision that changed everything. Joshua, a Scorpio client I worked with, was stuck in toxic cycles. Every woman he loved cheated. Every job ended in betrayal. He couldn't understand why life felt like punishment. Until one night during meditation, he had a vision. He was a soldier in ancient Greece. He had made a vow to never allow himself to feel weakness again, even love. after losing his brother in war. In that life, he shut down. In this life, the vow still echoed, blocking intimacy, trust, vulnerability. Once he saw it, he wept. And then, he forgave himself. The cycle ended, not with revenge, but with remembrance. Fire. Why Scorpio's karma is so intense? Because you didn't choose a simple mission. You chose to burn through generations of pain, not just your own, but your lineages. You carry the pain of mothers who never healed, fathers who abandoned themselves, ancestors who gave up on love. And your soul said, "It ends with me." This is why you feel heavier than others, why you often isolate, why you both desire and fear love so deeply. The vow is not a curse. It's a torch, and it's yours to carry. Man in lotus position. How to remember and release the vow. Scorpio, you don't need hypnosis or psychics to remember your contract. Your emotional patterns hold the key. Ask yourself, what am I always afraid of losing? What wound do I protect, even from myself? What triggers me beyond logic? Those are breadcrumbs to your soul vow. And once you remember, you don't have to repeat it. You can rewrite the agreement. You can say, I learned. I release. I choose love now. And the universe listens. Because the vow is sacred, but so is your free will. Crystal ball teaser for part 5, the messenger you can't ignore. In part 5, we'll explore the moment the universe sends you a messenger, someone who plays a painful but necessary role in activating your prophecy. They may be a lover, a rival, a stranger, but they hold the mirror you've been avoiding. Because Scorpio, the vow only awakens when the right soul triggers it, and they're closer than you think. In Speech Bubble Part 5, the messenger you can't ignore, love, pain, and the mirror of fate. Some souls don't walk into your life to love you. They come to awaken you, no matter the cost. Waxing crescent moon, the arrival of the messenger. They come quietly, sometimes. Other times, like a storm. You weren't expecting them. You didn't ask for them. But when they arrived, something in you shifted. A stranger who felt strangely familiar. A friend who suddenly mattered too much. A lover who turned your soul inside out. This isn't just attraction. It's recognition. Because the messenger is not new to you. They're a repeat character in your soul's long, ancient story. A soul you've danced with before, in love, in pain, in karma. Magnet. The Scorpio magnetism meets the mirror. Scorpio, you've always had a pull, an energy that draws intense people toward you. But this one is different. You feel them in your nervous system. Your dreams change. Your patterns unravel. Your shadows get louder. They see parts of you others don't. And you hate it. And you crave it. That's because they're not just here to love you. They're here to mirror you. To reflect back. The wounds you hide. The truths you ignore. The strength you forgot. They're the mirror. And mirrors don't lie. Drop of blood. Why it hurts so much, and why it has to. Let's be honest, Scorpio. This person will hurt you. Not always by betrayal. Sometimes just by revealing who you truly are before you're ready to face it. They might leave too soon, stay too long, trigger your deepest fear, abandonment, control, invisibility. But the pain is precise. It cuts exactly where the prophecy lives, because that's the only way to wake you up. This is not punishment. It's soul surgery. You don't bleed because you're weak. You bleed because you're opening. And the prophecy needs you wide open. Candle. Real story. The man who lost the woman who saved his soul. Derek, a Scorpio, told me about Ava, the woman he called both his medicine and his curse. She appeared during a crisis. She saw through his walls. She made him feel alive again. But she was wild, unstable, unapologetic. She came in fire and left in silence. Derek broke. He spiraled, questioned everything, his identity, his beliefs, his life path. But in that collapse, he wrote again. He went to therapy. He remembered the dreams he had before life numbed him. Ava didn't stay. She wasn't meant to. But she activated his prophecy. That's the role of the messenger. They don't stay to finish your story. They appear so you can begin rewriting it. How to know they're the one. Not the forever one. The fated one. Here are signs they're your soul's messenger. You feel deep, irrational emotions around them. Love, rage, sorrow, awe. The connection feels familiar, but also unfinished. You can't be fake with them, even when you want to. After them, nothing in your life feels the same. They shake your timeline, because they are the catalyst. And even when it ends, you don't forget. You can't. Because forgetting them would be forgetting the moment your real life began. What to do with the pain? Scorpio, don't waste this activation. Here's how to alchemize the pain. Write letters, even if you don't send them. Let your soul speak. Ask what they mirrored, not what they did, what they revealed. Forgive what didn't stay. It made room for what's real. Thank them silently. They carried the torch, even if it burned you. You don't need closure. You need clarity. And now you have it. Crystal ball teaser for part 6. The resistance that creates more pain. But here's where most Scorpios stumble. Instead of surrendering, they resist. They grip tighter. They fight fate. They try to control what should be released. In part 6, we explore why the hardest part of the prophecy isn't the pain. It's the refusal to let go. Because Scorpio, the prophecy can't unfold in clenched fists. It needs your hands open. Scorpion part 6. The resistance that creates more pain. Why letting go is the hardest lesson for Scorpio. Scorpio, you don't suffer because you feel too much. You suffer because you hold on too long. Blackheart, the Scorpio grip. Why you can't let go. You say it's about love, loyalty, depth. But let's be honest, it's also about control. You don't fall easily, Scorpio. But when you do, it's not a fall. It's a free dive into the abyss of another soul. You bond with intensity. You stay when others leave. You believe in transformation through fire. So when something or someone starts to slip away, you grip harder. You fight. You overthink. You chase closure, justice, clarity. But the truth is, the more you grip what's already gone, the more you bleed. Crossed swords, pain versus suffering. What Scorpio doesn't see at first. Pain is natural. Pain is part of growth. Pain says, something has changed. But suffering? Suffering says, I refuse to let it go. And Scorpio, this is where your shadow thrives. You replay conversations in your head 1,000 times. You stalk social media to feel connected or confirm betrayal. You imagine revenge. Or worse, pretend you don't care at all. But none of this heals you. It feeds the prophecy's resistance. And in that resistance, you suffer more than you were ever meant to. Handle the cost of holding on. When you refuse to release what's expired, here's what happens. You close your heart to new energy. You confuse love with attachment. You postpone your transformation. You were never meant to own people. You were meant to experience them fully, deeply, and then release them back to the universe. But Scorpio, your soul remembers every scar. And sometimes you wear it like a badge. Let me tell you, you are not your scars. You are who you became despite them. Brain real story. The woman who couldn't let go. Lena, a Scorpio woman, fell in love with a man who promised the world and then left when life got hard. For 4 years, she waited, checked his online status, told everyone she was fine, but inside, she was stuck in time. Until one day, she looked in the mirror and said, if he's not coming back, then why am I still not here? That question cracked her open. She started therapy. She burned old letters. She deleted the photos she used to cry over. And in the space that opened, she met herself again. She didn't let go of him. She let go of the version of herself who believed she couldn't survive without him. And that changed everything. Fire, why Scorpio must learn this lesson to fulfill the prophecy. The prophecy can't fulfill itself if you're chained to a past version of love. You were meant to rise, not be buried in ruins of what used to be. Letting go is not weakness. It's mastery. It's saying, I loved deeply, and I release with grace. What's meant for me won't miss me. If it left, it's because it couldn't go where I'm going. Letting go is faith, not just in the universe, but in your own resilience. Sparkle's tools to help you release. Scorpio, here's how to move from resistance to release. Write a goodbye letter. Burn it. Let the fire cleanse you. Create a ritual. Scorpio is a ritualistic sign. Channel your energy symbolically. Say it aloud, I set you free. And in doing so, I free myself. Feel it all. Cry. Scream. Mourn. Then stand back up. The prophecy will move again once your hands are empty. Only then can you receive what's next. Crystal ball teaser for part 7. The silence between death and rebirth. What happens after you let go? Nothing. At least, it feels like nothing. In part 7, we enter the sacred void, the space after Scorpio's collapse, but before their rebirth. It's a place of stillness, isolation, and divine pause. Because Scorpio, the most powerful transformations don't begin with a bang. They begin in silence, in the dark. New Moon Part 7. The sacred void. What happens between who you were and who you're becoming? This is not death. This is the in-between. And in the stillness, Scorpio, something ancient is waking up in you. Hold the silence after the storm. You've let go. Or at least you're trying. The collapse has happened. The pain has passed. The messenger has left. Now what? Nothing. No signs. No new love. No sudden miracles. Just silence. And this, Scorpio, is the most sacred space of all. Not because it feels good, but because it's where your rebirth begins. Waning crescent moon, the void is not emptiness, it's preparation. You may feel lost, like you're floating in darkness with no direction. But this is not a mistake. This is the womb of your next life. It's where your old identity dissolves. Your ego surrenders control. Your soul rewrites the next chapter. But that takes time and silence. And Scorpio, you're not used to stillness. You crave meaning, movement, intensity. But right now, the prophecy is not asking you to do. It's asking you to be, to sit, to breathe, to wait. Seedling real story. The man who found God in his loneliness. Ethan, a Scorpio artist, lost everything in 6 months. His partner left. His business failed. He moved into a one-room apartment with no idea what to do next. He tried everything, reading, meditating, even begging the universe for answers. But nothing came. Until one night, sitting alone, he whispered, "I don't know who I am anymore." And for the first time, he didn't panic. He just listened. In that silence, something shifted. He started creating again, not to impress, but to express. He painted from the void. And in the void, he found himself. Months later, his work exploded online. But he told me, the real gift wasn't the fame. It was learning that I didn't need to be someone to be enough. That's what the void teaches. First quarter moon, why most people skip this part, and why Scorpio can't. The world rushes healing. It tells you to move on, bounce back, get over it. But real transformation is slow. It's quiet. It's uncomfortable. Most signs avoid this phase. They distract, numb, rebound. But Scorpio, you're different. You feel the death. You walk the void. You honor the pause. Because you know, rebirth that's rushed doesn't last. The phoenix doesn't rise immediately. It waits in ash. Milky Way, how to navigate the sacred void. Scorpio, here's how to move through this space without losing yourself. Journal, even when you have nothing to say. Let the emptiness speak. Don't rush purpose. The new path will come. Let it find you. Embrace solitude. This is when your intuition sharpens. Create small rituals. Light a candle. Breathe. Speak to your soul. You are not lost. You are being rebuilt. Every cell, every thought, every dream is realigning with the prophecy that never left you. Crystal ball teaser for part 8. The day you don't recognize yourself. Then one morning it happens. You look in the mirror, and something is different. In part 8, we explore the moment Scorpio meets their new self. The version born from fire, silence, and sacred surrender. Because Scorpio, you didn't just survive. You evolved into something the world has never seen before. Eagle part 8. The day you don't recognize yourself. Meeting the new you after the death of the old. You thought you'd go back to being who you were. But that version of you no longer exists. A strange reflection in the mirror. One day, without warning, it hits you. You look in the mirror, or hear your own voice, or reread something you wrote months ago, and the thought lands, I don't recognize this person anymore. Not in a dramatic way, not in despair, but with awe, curiosity, maybe even a little grief. Because Scorpio, the old you has died, and for the first time, you're meeting the one who rose from the ashes. Butterfly, the subtle signs of rebirth. Rebirth doesn't come with fireworks. It comes quietly, like a whisper in your bones. Suddenly, what used to trigger you no longer does. What once defined you feels irrelevant. What you used to crave now repels you. Your boundaries are sharper. Your energy is sacred. You no longer beg to be seen because you've seen yourself. And that changes everything. Brain real story. The woman who forgot her own voice. Nina, a Scorpio writer, went through a brutal divorce that shattered her identity. Months later, she tried recording a podcast again, something she had loved doing before. But when she pressed play, she froze. "Who is that?" she said. Her voice was deeper. Her words were slower. Her energy had changed. She cried, not from sadness, but from recognition. For the first time, she heard herself without the mask, without the pleasing, without the performance. She didn't sound like the woman she used to be. She sounded like the woman she was meant to become. Fire. Why this moment matters. This is the moment where most people try to return to normal, to reclaim who they were before the pain. But Scorpio, that door is gone. Your old self was built on survival, on fear, on illusion, and that self served you until it didn't. Now, you are not surviving. You are sovereign. This is not a comeback. It's a resurrection, and it's irreversible. How to embrace the new you. Scorpio, here's how to welcome the version of you that just emerged. Speak your truth, even if it shakes. Your new voice deserves to be heard. Wear your power, not your pain. You've earned your depth, now embody it. Redefine your values. Who are you now? What do you truly believe? Let people go again. Some were only meant for the old you. Don't take them forward. This is the stage of empowerment. But empowerment is lonely at first, because not everyone will understand who you've become. That's okay. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be true. From survivor to alchemist. The greatest shift? You no longer fear pain. You understand it. You transmute it. Where others run, you go deeper. Where others numb, you feel. Where others shatter, you reform. You've become an alchemist. And Scorpio, that was always the point of the prophecy. Not just to endure the fire, but to become the one who commands it. Crystal ball teaser for part 9, becoming the guide for others. Now that you've crossed the threshold, there's one more transformation left. You've healed. You've evolved. Now, you're being called to lead. In part 9, we explore what it means to become the torchbearer. The Scorpio who turns their pain into purpose and becomes the light for others still in the dark. Because Scorpio, you weren't just reborn for yourself. You were reborn for them. Fire part 9, the torchbearer. When Scorpio becomes the light for others. The fire that once tried to destroy you now burns in your hand, and it lights the way for others. Kindle the shift from seeker to guide. For most of your life, you were searching for meaning, for healing, for someone who could understand your darkness. You were the seeker, crawling through shadows, decoding pain, surviving collapse after collapse. But now something has shifted. You're no longer asking the same questions. You're not desperately needing answers. You've become the answer. And without even trying, others are starting to come to you. Strangers opening up about their heartbreaks. Friends leaning on your wisdom. Souls feeling safe in your presence, even if they don't know why. This is no coincidence. This is the prophecy at work. You are becoming the torchbearer. Dizzy why Scorpio was chosen to hold the flame. Not every sign could handle what you've endured. But Scorpio, you were built for depth. You were forged in fire. Your pain wasn't pointless. It was preparation. Because only those who've been to the bottom of the ocean can guide others out of drowning. You know what it's like to be shattered and silent, alone in a crowd, screaming inward while smiling outward. You've lived there. You survived there. And now, you know the way out. That's why the universe entrusts you with others' wounds. Not to burden you, but because you can hold what others cannot. Footprints real story. The man who turned his trauma into ministry. Leo, a Scorpio who battled addiction for 10 years, finally found his way out after a near-death experience. He got clean. He started over. But he didn't just move on. He went back. He became a mentor for recovering addicts. He built a center. He listened without judgment because he knew the pain. People trusted him instantly, not because he had all the answers, but because he had walked the fire and come out alive. He told me once, "I'm not anyone's savior. I'm just the guy with a flashlight in the cave I once got lost in." That's you, Scorpio. You are the light in the cave. DNA, the sacred responsibility of the reborn. Being a torchbearer doesn't mean you must save everyone. It means you live in such deep truth that your presence becomes medicine. You don't need titles, or platforms, or followers. You need only honesty in your story, compassion in your silence, boundaries in your light. Your energy alone becomes a map, a vibration, a safe house for souls mid-collapse. Scorpio, this is your sacred responsibility. To stand in your power, not as a weapon, but as a witness. To say to others, "I see you. I know where you are. I've been there. And I'm still here." Locked with key, the final unlock, legacy. Now that you've risen, now that you're holding the torch, ask yourself, what will I do with this fire? Because now, it's no longer about survival. It's about legacy. You're not here to convince. You're here to inspire. Your journey, raw, real, rugged, becomes a blueprint for others who once felt what you felt. And even if they never thank you, even if they never speak your name, your existence becomes proof. Healing is possible. Power is real. Transformation is sacred. Crystal Ball teaser for part 10. You are the prophecy. Everything has led to this. The fire, the fall, the void, the rise, the torch. In part 10, we close the journey by revealing the greatest truth of all. The prophecy you feared was never separate from you. Because, Scorpio, you are the prophecy. Part 10. You are the prophecy. The final realization that changes everything. It was never about something written in the stars. It was always about something burning inside you. Cyclone, looking back, the journey makes sense now. You remember when it began. The signs you didn't understand. The people who broke you open. The nights you thought you wouldn't survive. You remember how the prophecy felt like a curse. How fate seemed cruel. How the silence nearly swallowed you. But now, looking back, you see the design. The collapse wasn't chaos. It was calibration. The pain wasn't punishment. It was purification. The loss wasn't emptiness. It was alignment. And suddenly, it all makes sense. You weren't following a prophecy. You were becoming it. The final mirror, meeting your true self. There is a moment, quiet, rare, irreversible, when you finally meet your real self. Not the one shaped by trauma. Not the one masked by roles. Not the one chasing love or validation. But the one who knows what they're here for, trusts their own silence, stands unshaken in both light and darkness. And Scorpio, that version of you, that is the prophecy fulfilled. Trident emblem, you were never meant to read the future. You were meant to embody it. For so long, you thought the prophecy was something outside you. A warning, a path, a test. But it was never written in a book, never whispered by oracles, never carved in stone. It was etched into your bones, buried in your intuition, woven into your heartbeat. And now, as you stand here, whole, scarred, and sovereign, you realize the prophecy never predicted your future. It was always meant to awaken your power. Brain real story. The Scorpio who returned to herself. Sophia, a Scorpio spiritual healer, once asked me, what if the prophecy is not something I'm chasing, but something I've already become? She had survived abuse, addiction, betrayal, and years of feeling like she was broken. But one day, she stopped searching. She stopped fixing. She stopped explaining her pain. And she just stood in it. From that day, her energy changed. People felt it. Her business flourished. Her voice deepened. Her joy became unshakable. Not because she avoided the darkness, but because she finally saw that the darkness was never separate from her light. Dove, you are the living prophecy. Scorpio, the truth is this. You came here not to be saved, but to remember, to reclaim the parts of you scattered across timelines, to burn, to rebuild, and then to walk this world as proof that transformation is not only real, it is sacred. You are not a sign. You are not a season. You are not just a survivor. You are a soul in motion, a force of death and rebirth, a mirror, a fire, a healer, a guide. You are not becoming the prophecy. You are it. Sparkle's final words. Let this land in your spirit. Let this truth settle deep into your bones. You were always more than the pain. The signs weren't warnings. They were invitations. The prophecy didn't chase you. It lived inside you. And now that you've walked through the fire, carried the silence, held the torch, you don't need to ask the universe what's next, because you are the one it's been waiting for. Compass your next chapter, unwritten, but unstoppable. This story ends here, but your journey doesn't. You'll still feel the sting of betrayal, the ache of depth, the pull of mystery. But now, you know who you are, and that changes everything. So go, be the light in someone's darkness. Be the voice someone hears when they're ready to rise. Be the proof that fire can refine, not just destroy. Because, Scorpio, you didn't survive the prophecy. You fulfilled it. And now, you are the legend it spoke of. Forever. Direct call to action. Spoken from the heart. If this video stirred something in you, if you recognized yourself in these words, or you simply admire the unstoppable force of Scorpio energy, then let's keep going deeper together. Glowing Star, subscribe to this channel, The Path to Buddhist Wisdom. Because here, we don't just talk about astrology. We awaken ancient truths. We merge mysticism with mastery. And we honor every soul's path to greatness. Hit that bell. Leave a comment. And remember, the most powerful journey is the one within.